Welcome to the show. I'm JJ Flazanes.
I am Doug Sandler. I have a cattail in my face.
You do have a cattail in your face. And our acoustics may be a little different today. We are recording from the bedroom.
Whoa.
And this bedroom ceiling, would you say that's 18 feet?
That's probably at
more?
least 10 feet. It's probably more than 10 feet. It looks like it. Yeah,
Well,
it
you're
could be.
6 foot, and
Wait a minute.
it's
Let me
probably
scale. Let me
double
scale
you.
the wall. Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
We were talking about putting up cat toys and cat climbing things and utilizing all that space up there. There's just so much space.
We could put a loft up there for it's so
Seriously.
high. We really could. But
Storage.
It's probably really hot up there.
We need
though.
storage. We could have built something, shelves. I don't know, an elevator. All right, so the topic for today. First, we've been moving. We're still moving. I mean, there are still boxes. We're not done. We've got guests coming tomorrow. I'm sure you can hear we're not really super high energy or super high enthusiasm. And why I'm continuing to push through and record is because, hey, we're, it's a little drama. It's a little...
Speaking of drama, the last 2 weeks of my life, your life, drama.
Yeah, okay. And people that have followed me on Facebook or Instagram, you kind of know.
JJ
and I've
hates
talked about
moving.
it on the show.
Hates
It's
moving.
not that I hate moving. No, I don't hate moving. What did I hate about this move?
You hate it because somebody made you move.
Exactly.
Oh boy!
Was
Don't
it-
make JJ do anything.
was it
Lord,
my
have
choice?
mercy upon
I
whoever is asking JJ to do anything.
Well, does anyone like to do something they weren't asked, they didn't want to do? If you said, yeah, you just had to argue with me about the damn towels. You insisted that we put the towels in the guest bathroom a certain way, and that's how you were going to do it, and you didn't care. You told me to just relax and accept it, and that's about the towels, okay? So, cut me a little slack here. My 9 years...
Right. Like the last 2 weeks, you haven't been cut any slack. Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that really? Are you saying that no slack over the last 2 weeks? I haven't given you any slack?
In this conversation, everyone has not been with us in every conversation to know that, yes, you have cut me slack. And yes, I've had a major breakdown and
I've been
release.
very supportive.
And you've
don't forget to say
been
that part.
very supportive, and you've been really good in
While you're at it,
fixing my
and you love me
phone,
very much.
And I love you very much. And you're amazing.
There you go.
Okay.
Anything else is fine. Whatever you have to say beyond that is okay.
Did I fill the cup?
Yes.
With words of affirmation.
I'll give you a little bit more.
A little bit more.
The cup, it's very hot here. The cup, there's a lot of, what's it called? Evaporation going on. The cup dries out quickly. It needs to constantly be filled.
You've been extremely patient. You've been amazing in helping me to fix things and to fix my phone. You saved my life with the phone. You're my
God.
hero today with the
All right,
phone.
let's move on.
You were such a prince when it came to all of the purchases and shopping and setting things up for me.
Okay.
Are you full?
Yeah, I'm full. Let's
Great.
move on.
All right. So we were having dinner at the Veggie Grill. For those of you that don't know Veggie Grill, shout out to Veggie Grill. They have sponsored many of my events in the past, some book launches, and
I'm not even vegan, and I love this place. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, you don't have to be vegan to love Veggie Grill.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Right, it's tastes very good. We've had many vegan meals recently, and it's because it's really easy to replace cheese in a vegan place because everything we have there, all the creams and everything are easy to have for both of us. So anyway, we're having dinner, and we were discussing some things, probably, I don't know, Facebook, clients, some of the coaching sessions that I've done recently. And Doug said something that sounded like a quote that I should have heard before, like something that everybody knows, yet I don't think I had heard it. And what was it, Doug?
Counseling is cheaper than divorce. That's what the quote was.
Right. Counseling is cheaper than divorce. And
Well, I just thought about the $417,000 my first divorce cost me, and I'm just thinking, I should have spent $50,000 in counseling, or even $5,000 in counseling, or anything, 1/100th of the difference between the two. It's like, oh God, big mistake. Should have put money into counseling. But then again, I wouldn't be here.
correct, you would not be here. And we're happy that you're here. But we were meeting with our neighbor today. Doug was working on his car. He was working on his car, and something came up about divorces and his final alimony payment next month. And Doug's last one was in December, and it was just this conversation that started happening, and it got my wheels turning, because I know a lot of you guys out there that want coaching and help with the relationship part, and even some of you that are in relationship, you're married, both spouses may or may not listen to the show. But it's really easy for most people to say it's the other person and to blame the other person. And when you're just dating, it's it's not a lot of risk. And it's funny because I have two scenarios of people that I've worked with that in one case, breaking up with someone you don't live with, there's no financial ties to, you don't own anything together, you haven't invested in anything together. You break up and nothing changes. But yet some people stay in bad relationships for months and months and years.
Yeah, but sometimes
past the prime.
Sometimes it's not just the financial commitment; it's the emotional commitment that you have. It's the friends. It's the places that you go, the things that you do, and a lot of those things are so much deeper than money. Money is almost like the easy solution. My son said, "I love you, you love me. Why do we need to get the government involved?" I understand that, as far as marriage is the government, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but how about the emotional toll that a breakup takes as well?
Well, I'm thinking of a few people who are staying who want to leave and then complain that they're having physical pains and other things that are wrong, yet they're not taking the plunge.
They stay because they're afraid of the unknown. They're staying not because that they just won't get out. And I know a few people like this too. They're staying in a miserable relationship for no other reason than the devil is better than the devil you don't know.
Well, on the flip side, I'm thinking about a couple relationships, one in where the marriage ended 30 years ago, but they're still married. And I know the reason is because she doesn't want to pay alimony. And she's been in a situation that's not good and unhealthy and unhappy. And so money is keeping her married because of how expensive it would be to divorce. Yet now you're trading money for your happiness. And I don't think that's good either. But, when you said that today, it made me think, because, again, I was thinking about a couple people that I'm working with or might be working with who said that, I'm having these feelings and I can't help but blame the other person and I can't figure out another solution other than to leave. And we're talking about a second divorce, a third divorce. And I said, well, part of the coaching that would be happening would be to look at your childhood wounds and see what your patterns are, because if you don't heal them, you're just gonna repeat them with every single partner you have for the rest of your life. So in this case, to me, the logic is, and that's when Doug said counseling is cheaper than divorce, right? At least take a stab at it. I mean, what do you think?
I think that you should try. You should make the effort to stay in the relationship unless there's some abuse or neglect or something that's extremely serious. I don't see why you wouldn't try to stay. But at the same time, if you feel like you've run that and the issue though is a lot of people are approaching this from a non-counseling perspective. So if you had, I really am a true believer. Only the third time through this, though, it's like first relationship didn't work. Tried counseling, didn't understand the advantage that counseling could offer. Repelled the counseling. Second one, I couldn't get her to go to counseling at all. The third one, we have no issue, but we're going to counseling because I really do think it could be very beneficial. So you've got to go that route. I really do think that you have to before you throw in the towel, unless, again, there's infidelity, there's abuse, there's neglect, there's something, gross negligence involved. I just think that you have to try to stay to make it work.
Well, so what came up also was that, there's the camp of people who are married, who got married, knowing consciously while they were getting married that they probably shouldn't be, or so fearful of the other person and what their life was going to be like having that sick feeling in your stomach and denying your intuition. Like we talked about that with Michael, right? On his third marriage, that he knew he denied his own intuition, which is what kind of put him to, where he ended up, which now he's good and he's moving forward in a new relationship. But he knew and he denied it. And I know a lot of people who said to me, I knew walking down the aisle. I knew the day before. I knew before it happened. And I thought to myself, well, I didn't. I had no intention of ever getting divorced. I was not going to get divorced. In fact, I was going to work really hard at understanding how I could do anything I could do to never get divorced, not because I was trying not to get divorced. I was trying to have a happy marriage. Like, okay, let's just figure it out. Let's grow together as people. So now I know for me, I felt very good. My wedding day was amazing and awesome, and I had all the hope in the world. Now, Doug, you said tonight at dinner that you had no doubt with either one of them either.
Right. I thought for sure both of those were going to be they were forever marriages. I didn't get married with any type of doubt or concern that whatever happened, for better or for worse, Richard or poor, till death do us part. That was really the approach that I took to both of my marriages. I don't know why. I mean, I guess I do know why, but I don't know what happened along the way to change that mentally for me or for them.
I just want to be clear that I'm not suggesting, because when I was going through some tough times, I was listening to a lot of Abraham, and I remember one of the audio tracks that I heard that I actually still have that I love about relationships, about fast-moving relationships, and that you're actually trying to keep up with the expansion that's happening. And I remember in one of those examples talking about or hearing about, well, why did you get married in the first place? And you felt it then, and you were in alignment then. And not everybody is in alignment. And so if you're someone who's married, who was in love, and you were in alignment, and you thought it would be forever, and you felt 100% in your bones that this was the right relationship for you, then there's hope. If you went down the aisle, however, thinking this isn't going to work out, I don't know how this is ever going to work out, I hope this isn't going to blow up in my face, I probably shouldn't be doing this, then I would say there's probably not hope for you. You should get out because you never felt in alignment, and that was your indicator. And I know for me, at many times, I played that track over and over again for hope, to remind myself I felt so in alignment, so good. Everything, I attracted him, everything was great. And so that just made me think, well, then it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to fix it. We're supposed to grow together. I'm supposed to figure it out. So I just want to make sure people don't misunderstand that I'm not trying to keep people together who shouldn't have gotten married in the first place.
Well, there's got to be some level of understanding that when everybody gets married, sometimes there's that moment of, there's some level of uncertainty or confusion, or yes, even though you may be completely in love with your significant other, isn't there that moment of, is this the right thing to do? Isn't there that moment of, oh my gosh, I'm about to give up all of my freedom? Isn't there that moment of, it was that happened a week ago, a month ago? I'm sure there was an argument in there somewhere. You never get to wedding day without having some level of disagreement, especially in those high tension moments leading up to wedding day. But is that something that's going to carry on through this marriage? Is this something that's going to be problematic? His father cheated. Is he going to cheat? All of the things that I know are potentially going through people's minds. So even though you feel like you're in alignment or potentially in alignment, there's always that moment of confusion. I'm not saying certainty that it's not the right thing, or it is the right thing, but there could be a level of confusion as you come up to wedding day, that there could be, is this going to be a problem later on?
So I had a session with one of the guests on the show a couple weeks ago now, and one of the questions that was asked to me was, when did you know it wasn't going to work out? And he goes, no, when did you really know? And I kind of got called out in that moment because if I was honest, I'd have to go back pretty far before we ever moved in together. And it wasn't that I didn't think it would work out, it was that I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the tools for the anger that I had never experienced before, and the traumas that had happened, and the
Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
those kind of things that aren't even on you, because those things that you're mentioning right now were not your issues that were brought to the relationship. They were his issues that he brought to the relationship, and potentially you thought at some point we're going to need to work on this, but you didn't have the tools.
I said on the second date we're going to work on this. There was no, I mean, there was behaviors that indicated repression, emotional repression, and certain conditions. And I said from the beginning, this is going to get, well, you want to work this out, or we're going to work this out. So in my mind, and that was where I was at fault, was I didn't go in saying, hey, do you want to work on this? Do you have interest in this?
And why wasn't it? I'm not saying that you were wrong and my relationships have been all perfect, but why wasn't that a flag that was enough for you to say, "Oh man, maybe I shouldn't get involved with this guy," and not that would have been, not that everybody doesn't have baggage that they're bringing into the relationship, but that this was one in your particular case. Like in my, and let me not use you as the example because I don't want to feel like I'm putting you under the microscope here. Let me use the relationship that I just got out of, or that I got out of last year, or how long has it been now? Year and a half now, right?
Mm-hmm.
A year and a half ago, and I should have seen this as a flag. I should have seen the horrible relationship that she had with her mother, and thought, man, this is not somebody that I feel. I mean, I have, how my relationship is with my mom. I have a great relationship with my mom, and that should have been a flag. Maybe not enough to call off the relationship, but it should have been enough of a flag for me to say, man, there is an issue here that we need to really work through seriously.
Well, and I don't have any particular examples to share in terms of the exact people, but I know I am having visions of people in my past where, let's say, their upbringing was very different than the way they chose to be in marriage and in a couple. So I think that, well, yes, now, I mean, I changed some of the things, my criteria. I said to myself, if I'm ever single again, I want this and I want that are different than what I had. But I think I also have this unending faith in people that I think that, and it's partly me projecting my belief system of, why wouldn't you want to fix it? Why wouldn't you want to feel free? Why wouldn't you want to feel better? Why wouldn't, if you understood it was a problem, why would you keep it?
Because some people don't want to open up the wound. Some people don't want to open up the wound to understand what it is. They're thinking that you're going to crack my skull open and you're going to start reading what's going on in there, and it's going to unearth some problem that I don't want to hear about. And the only thing that I can say is maybe a remote example of this is the whole, why wouldn't I want to talk to somebody that could potentially help me communicate with my father, my uncle, my brother? Well, I'm just not in a position where I feel like I'm ready to have my head opened up and the words presented to me that I potentially don't want to hear.
But you're not complaining of an issue. I understand that you have fear, trepidation, and the timing isn't right for you to talk to your brother, your father, and your uncle. I get that. And for those of you that are wondering, they're on the other side. So we're talking about a medium here. This isn't a live conversation. I mean, it is, but through spirit, but through a medium. And I understand that, not because necessarily you're afraid, but you don't know and you're not ready, but you're also not complaining of a problem. And that's what I mean about where I've projected.
Yeah, but you have to look at it, and you have to see potentially, I'm not saying you have to look at it, but one has to look at a situation and say, if someone is so angry or so sure of themselves that this is how I want to do something and this is how I want to be, and you may see it as a problem and the world may see it as a problem, but I'm not sure that I see this as a problem. So because I don't see this as a problem, the only one that has the issue is you about this. Why do I need to change something?
Totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And so to take this out of from me and you, although I want to come back to a little bit more personal stuff between you and I and around this conversation, you and I are on in the agreement now. Maybe you weren't then, and I actually want to ask you about that. But that counseling is cheaper than divorce. So if you looking at the situation, and especially if it's your first time, and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to get out. Well, potentially it's going to hurt on the financial side.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not just about the money. My business partners have said to me many times that they're just looking at this from a financial perspective. They're like, how could you walk away from that much money? And I said, how could I walk away? I wasn't happy. I didn't see an opportunity to have this be improved. I wasn't looking at it from a financial perspective. I look back and I'm like, yeah, sure, would it make sense if just with looking at cold hard numbers, bits and bytes, ones and zeros, yeah, several $100,000 versus a few $1,000s for counseling. If that's the only reason I make the decision, absolutely. But you always think the one that's leaving or the one that's getting divorced or the one that's separating always thinks that the grass is going to be greener. This relationship is going to be better. The next one's going to be fresh. It's going to be new. It's going to be great. And unless you really understand the reality of it, and the reality of it is if you don't fix yourself, if you don't start to understand, if you're not dealing through counseling or through therapy or through some self-reflection, the mistakes, the reasons why you're doing things, like you always say, you're just going to repeat them over and over and over again. The money is irrelevant at that point.
So you did counseling the first time.
Yeah, but it was like mime counseling.
What does that mean, mime?
It was like I just went through the actions, and what happened was this counselor never really set it up to explain what was going on. You know me, I want to know what's the end game. What are we going to? We're going to a happy marriage? Okay, great. How are we getting there? What is the process by which we go? Lay out the roadmap. Tell me what's going to happen. And all I kept finding was every time I would go to a counseling session, I would just get reminded of all of the things that I was doing wrong. And I'm like, this isn't making me happy. This is making me more miserable. Why don't you unearth potentially some more of the issues that I have in my life? That's why I'm getting out of this marriage.
So you didn't find benefit in any of it?
No.
How long did you go?
Maybe a couple months.
Really?
Yeah.
Every week?
I don't remember how many sessions. Let's say it was 8 or 10 sessions.
And was there any specific modality or book?
I don't remember. I don't really remember.
Okay. And then by the time you were getting ready on your second marriage, you wanted to go.
Oh my God, so badly wanted to go. So badly. I would have done anything to save that marriage.
And where, at that point, would you have gone?
I don't know. I would have probably asked you. You were, yeah, right? Because you were my trainer at that point. I probably said, JJ, what should I do? Where should I go?
Well, then I would have helped you if she would have been willing. I got to fix that. I got to fix that shit. If it was fixable.
Apparently,
it's not fixable.
It was not fixable. It was fixable for me. For her, her thing was, how I am. Once I say it's over, it's over. And again, the red flag should have been up. I saw her handle before we were engaged. I saw her handle many of the relationships, several relationships where when it was over, and I kept thinking, why? This was somebody that she was best friends with, or this is somebody that she had a deep relationship with. It was just over. And she's such a loving person. I don't understand it. When she's in, she's in. When she's out, she's out.
Because she can't handle feeling hurt and pain, so she has to cut it off. That's a really good thing to bring up. A lot of people do that, and actually I know that even though she's a water sign with an earth moon, some of you earth signs, and if earth is in your moon, it's like you get pushed and pushed and pushed, and then when you hit the end point, it's almost an all or nothing. And a lot of people cut people off because you can't handle feeling badly, you think you're going to feel better, but the truth is you still harbor that. Like you're now, you're walking around hoping that you're not going to catch some sunlight on your skin because you cut that off. But like everywhere you turn, you can't run. Again, you cannot run your pain. And eventually that's not going to work anymore in some way, shape, or form. It's all going to build up. So, okay. So now, obviously, we've been to a couples workshop and we haven't really done therapy yet, have we?
No.
No. We've just done...
Every day is therapy with you, JJ. Put that on. That should be the title of this episode.
Every day with JJ is therapy.
Right.
Okay, maybe. Well, you're still here and you signed a 12-month lease and you're looking at buying a house. So apparently it hasn't scared you.
I'm not scared.
Okay. And we have definitely been tested over the last 60 days. And I think that that's good. I don't foresee a bigger test. Do you?
What kind of test am I looking for? I don't know what the test is supposed to look like.
It's been
so far it's been true, false, multiple choice. What if there's an essay test? I'm really gonna fail that one.
It's been said that moving and divorce are two of the most stressful things.
Check, 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 and check. We've done that 4 times now. 2 divorces, 2 moves. Okay, so we're still together.
2 divorces.
You got divorced. I got divorced. I moved. We moved.
Right. And then yes, right. I moved, you moved, and then I moved, and then you moved with me.
Yeah. So for some reason, I get discounted that move that I made to California from the East Coast. You know why? Because I fucking made it look easy. That's exactly what it was.
You also got to run away from dealing with the life that you had with her.
You can say as a reason, as rationale, why it was easier for me than it was for you, but ultimately, whose judgment is that? Isn't that my judgment? Look at the people that are involved, that are in your community right now. They're saying, you don't know the problems that I have. You don't know the problems that I have. Doug and JJ, you have it so easy. Look, everything is great. You guys are on this podcast together. You talk out your problems. You don't know the problems that I have. You don't know the infidelity that I have in the relationship. Somebody is saying, yelling this at the speaker right now. You don't understand the shit that I've been going through. And what I would say is everybody has their own shit, their own level of shit. So and I'm not saying you've judged me at all, but I'm saying that I made this look easy. My move from East Coast to West Coast, with the exception of that first week, which was more of a challenge than others in my life. The whole move, I mean, it is a big challenge. I left my 2 kids. I left my mom. I left everything that I know on the East Coast. So while I appreciate and respect everything that you have been through over the last 60 days, since we've started this process, a little bit more than 60 days now, I just have to come back to the people that are in our community right now that are listening to this. They have their own shit, and they are looking at us, and they're saying, you guys have it easy. You have no idea what I've been through. So I just say that just so we remain sensitive to the fact that there are people in our community that are listening to this that we really don't know what their problem is. I would love to know what the problems, what the issues, what the concerns are that people have in their relationships. I would love them to send them to you, because I think that you do have the tools that you can share with people to get them healed or beginning to get on the road to healing.
Okay. Do we want to share any of our dirty laundry that's happened in the last 30 days, maybe?
I'm happy to bring up every argument that we've had in the last 30 days. If you would care to start the argument, your memory is much better than mine. So for me, it's all water under the bridge. It's all part of the learning experience. It's all part of the healing process. But I would be happy to now in a state where I won't get triggered by those conversations. I'm happy to have the conversation.
Okay, I'll just ask you a few questions. We don't have to go point by point.
Not
here.
that one, though. Don't talk about that one.
Would you say you've had the most arguments in this relationship?
Than any other relationship that I've had?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No, I wouldn't say that I've had the most arguments. I would say that I've had the most follow-up conversations about the arguments that I've had instead of just argument, move on, argument, move on, argument, move on. It's argument, discussion, conversation, potential resolution, maybe not seeing eye to eye on everything, but moving on at that point. There's been a lot more between the argument and the outcome than in this relationship than any other that I've ever had.
Okay, let's talk about that and the mechanics of that for a second, because we had a pretty good fight about a week ago. And now, mind you, we've moved. This isn't all very, like there's exhaustion, there's stress from me, and all kinds of emotions that I didn't expect to be feeling during this.
See, everybody, I told you all of these were JJ's fault. Okay, what was the conversation then? Go ahead. Sorry, what was it?
Yeah, you hurt my feelings. I'm mad at you.
Did I say it just like that in the same tone? Because I don't even think I can get my voice up to that octave.
Yeah. So let's go over the mechanics of conflict resolution really quickly, because I don't want people to think, well, you've studied these things and you've done this and you've done that and it's easy for you. Look, people, emotion is emotion and none of it's fucking easy, okay?
Triggers still happen. Shit still goes.
Right.
Shit still happens.
Yes. In my lovely home that wasn't mine, I pretty much had my stuff dialed in enough where I didn't get triggered very much. But the minute my foundation got changed and broken and I was kicked out of my house, little PTSD there, and then, the whole thing from the marriage came up. Anyway, let's just say triggers, and past pains that haven't been let out. I mean, I didn't realize how much I hadn't grieved. And I think that when you don't move or when you do move, in my case, it's when you don't move. In Doug's case, I think it's when you do move. Sometimes you avoid the grieving process. And sometimes the grieving process is faster for others. And sometimes there's residual. But when you have an environment that is charged with emotion and you're having an argument or a fight, it's having the skills, it's having the tools to come out of it, to understand it. So conflict resolution isn't you're going to have a fight and then in that very same moment, you're going to work it out. That's not how it works. Most of the time when someone is triggered and one or both parties are in a heated discussion, right now you're in an emotional fight or flight.
And keep in mind that when you're both emotional and you're having that conversation, let's call it the argument, you're both triggered. It's not like one party is triggered and the other partner isn't. Usually it's both partners get triggered from their own wounds.
Okay. We're going to keep that as your opinion. I think there's a degree of trigger versus frustration. There's a general, someone's in a bad mood and maybe they're a little short. And that's different from someone having a full-on trigger where they're then yelling at you or super offended and super hurt and blaming you for it. That's okay. So I don't want to make everything a trigger because, you can be mildly triggered and it's not a big deal. And you could still have the wherewithal to talk about and have consciousness about what you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you got there. When you're triggered, you're just in full-on emotion and you're not thinking straight. You're just feeling. You're overwhelmed with your feelings. And that's the place we have to get out of before you can actually have resolution. So if you're in a situation where you're triggered, you're not going to have a conversation about it. And I'm very guilty of this in my last relationship and sometimes with Doug too, where I want to get logical about it right away. And logic has no place in the first probably 30 minutes after a trigger has happened because someone is so heated by their emotions, they're not logically thinking, they're emoting. So you have to give it some space. You have to give it a little state change.
And when JJ says emoting, she does not mean those little fun things, those yellow smiley face guys on Facebook.
Emoticons. No, emojis.
Whole different thing.
Right. So, someone needs to emote. One or both parties need a little space, a little bit. They need to become diffused by leaving the room, leaving the house, taking a
and
drive.
give them the space that they need. Back the fuck up sometimes. You can't just have that conversation that leads into an argument and then just it's not going to find resolution right there. If your partner, especially if your partner vocalizes the words, I need some processing time, I need a little space, I need a little bit of distance from this so that I'm not emotional about it. I usually find that I know when I'm getting in that heated moment. And well, we haven't gotten into the specifics of any of the arguments. I don't even remember which one that we're specifically talking about at this particular point. But I know when I get that way and I say I need some space, sometimes you don't give me that space that I need. You still want to resolve it right then and there. That's okay. I understand. But I will say it again. Sometimes I need that space.
Okay. I've given you probably more space than I want to. I know I've done a very good job. No, and what I mean by that is...
that is not even your call. Then you want to. Yes, for you, maybe.
For me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for me.
Okay.
Not for you. I'm saying that my impulse might be because I'm thinking of like what we argued about on the way to the comedy club that one night. You were triggered. I wasn't. So
I don't even remember when.
I don't remember what it was about, but I remember that I was sort of waiting for you to kind of get over it.
Oh yeah.
And I turned to you and I said, "At what point?
At what point are you going to get over this?" And I'm like, "Fuck you!" When I decide I'm going to get over it,
right?
That's when I'm going to get. I didn't say that, by the way.
But there were hours in there of where.
Oh, hours! I thought it was days. I thought it was like days.
No, it were hours. We haven't gone a full 24 hours without working it out.
I think I went to bed once angry with you. I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay, fine. We haven't gone 48 hours. How's that?
No, we definitely haven't gone 48 hours.
Okay, 48 hours
We've only been
is
seeing
the
each
most.
other for 72 hours. So we definitely haven't.
So, when you're looking at, well, what am I supposed to do? Someone's triggered, one or both of you are triggered. I would say give it some space, walk away, don't try to fix it right then and there, calm down, do what you can to have a different perspective. I know in past relationships, I went into compassion, and I think that's really the best place to go. If you can go to compassion for both yourself and your partner, then it puts you in a state of love and a state of hopefulness, and will help emotionally bring you out of the trauma.
Sometimes that's really hard, though. I mean, I agree with you. I think compassion is a great place to go, but sometimes you're just so irritated as fuck at your partner, and you're just like, I'm not going to a place of compassion because, damn it, I don't want to. That's what it comes down to sometimes.
Which is why I asked you in the car, at what point in time do you think you're going to decide to get over this? And if you told me I need another day to be pissed at you, I'd been like, cool.
Right. And that's a really very, very hard thing for someone to receive if they are pissed at you. They don't want to hear from you. So I was not looking to be asked the question, how long is this going to take? My first thought was, I don't know. How long will it take you to walk home? That's what I was thinking in my mind. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm irritated with you. It'll be over when it's over. When I say I'm done, not when you ask me when I'm going to be done.
Okay, thank you for that lead in, because here's the next bit of advice. When you're mad at somebody, remember what I've always said on the show, it's never about the other person.
Right.
So when if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at somebody, but at some point at least be aware. So I've been mad about this move. I've been in victim mode. I've been mad. Right? But that doesn't do me any good, and it's not going to get me any further to continue to hold on to anger that's really just displaced, I don't know, fear, grieving, many different things that have been happening. Now, in a relationship where you're seeing the person on a regular basis, holding anger over them doesn't help anybody. You may feel alleviated of having to take any responsibility for a little while, and that's fine. Just admit that to yourself, that you're scapegoating, actually owning your own shit. So you're going to be mad at someone else for a long time. You're going to punish them. You're going to punish them in the way that you're going to try to hurt their feelings back, okay? But this is why take some space and figure out what's my shit and what's theirs. What is it about me that I have these feelings? What is it? And then this is where you would use the 3 steps to effective communication with the needs and feelings list. What am I feeling? What need is not being met that is perceived? That's why I'm feeling this way. And then what strategies can I take to get the need met? And in step 3, that's where most people want to say, well, you did it to me and you just need to change. And again, that isn't going to work long term, because then you're always asking people to be different. But in the stages of conflict resolution, I want to remind you to ask questions. This is really good because this is what you and I did this today. Ask questions instead of assume. Too often, you have an interpretation about something that's happened between you, and you think the other person knows exactly what they did, or how it's affected you, or what you were thinking or feeling, and they don't at all.
Yeah, let me just say, your partner never knows what you're thinking unless you share with them what you're thinking. Period. The end. Do not ever assume that your partner knows anything what you're thinking at all.
So I'd invite you to ask questions. Ask questions of yourself. Ask questions of the other person. Put yourself in a position of observer and try to understand what happened. Because what meant something to you did or did not mean the same thing to them, which is why you're currently in the situation. So that's just some of the overview of what I would recommend for conflict resolution. Again, having all these other tools would be really good. Like, I know we've used the couples dialogue from Imago Therapy a couple times, which has been really helpful to give us a structure to express feelings and to take responsibility for those feelings and to connect them to a core wound. And that's been great. And in this last conflict resolution, we didn't use those scripts, but we made it through and we had some discovery. I know I did. And through talking it out, I know I came up with something I didn't realize and shared it with you. And then you understood it from a different point of view, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. So why don't you remind me of the conversation to a degree, and then we will know.
So when we moved, what it triggered in me was a release of grief from my marriage, all the cats that had come and gone in that house, all of the freedoms, all the joys, all the safety and security that I had in the house. And when we moved in, it took so much out of me. And I've been feeling really physically tired and low iron and all these other things. So put that all together, and I wasn't functioning very well, to the point where I knew I was going to need to take this really slowly. And Doug wanted just to get stuff done. So here we have super fast over here, and I'm now being super slow. So every time he'd put something away or take something out of a box, what I discovered as we talked, was that what it meant to me, and I didn't know this before we had this conversation, I would feel pressure because what I interpreted it to mean is that I'm failing. It was another reminder that I couldn't save my marriage, another reminder that I didn't own that house, another reminder that I'm not up to speed and my body is not healthy right now. I mean, it's healthy in one level, but I'm lacking iron. Like, I don't have enough energy, and therefore, and I'm overwhelmed emotionally. So it just triggered in me feeling like he was judging me, or that I was, not that you were judging me, but that it was a judgment and that I wasn't keeping up. It was my own judgment, but that I was failing. Now, I couldn't have gotten there if we didn't sit and have a conversation about it. Did you have any idea that I was feeling like a failure?
I had no idea. I just wanted to get shit out of boxes and into the cabinets. And just because I like, me, I like things neat and tidy and organized. And these are my issues. They're probably something in my childhood, like always stay neat and tidy and don't get your clothes dirty and all that stuff, whatever. I don't even know. But I wanted to get everything put away. Like the day that it was here, I wanted to just get it all knocked out, all done, period, the end. I didn't care that you weren't doing it. I just wanted to get it out of the boxes. You took offense to that for those reasons that you just outlined. And I was clueless that was what you were thinking.
I felt pressure, and I also didn't, I wanted to be efficient with where things were going. But anyway, besides the point, we had this argument in the beginning of the day. It was a Sunday. And we had this conflict resolution conversation, if you will, by the end of the day. It was probably around 8 o'clock, actually. And I think we had it for an hour. It was like 8 to 9 o'clock.
That's when I was going to San Diego.
Yep,
I remember.
So, again, the argument probably happened at 8 a.m. And then 12 hours later, we were having the discussion. Now, in the middle of that, we were still eating dinner together and watching television and coexisting. But Doug was mad. And I don't know what I was. I mean, I wasn't holding on to being angry, but there was tension. So, but we had the conversation. And so what I want to impress upon people is that the tools that you can learn to have, and some of them again cost as little as you can buy the books. If you'll read them, if you'll do them, you can just go buy the Getting the Love You Want Imago workbook. I think it's $15 or $20, and you can do it yourself if you have the patience. The reason why it's always good to work with somebody else for a certain period of time is because you can't see what you can't see. Your habits and patterns or beliefs are there keeping you where you are. Having an outside perspective, having different information, having a different point of view can help you break out of those patterns and habits that keep you in the conversations and the arguments you keep having. So anyway, when Doug said counseling was cheaper than divorce, yeah, he's not kidding. And I think too many times people think it's a luxury or, oh, well, it's expensive for a little bit for us to go work on our marriage. Yet, what is the emotional and financial cost if you don't?
Oh, and the emotional toll is significantly cheaper if you stay together than if you part. It's not just the marriage. I mean, I said this to my second wife that decided that the marriage was over, is that you didn't just marry me, you married my entire family. It's the emotional toll that's involved. My kids, my mom, my friends. It's like, how do you divide your friends? A lot of that was really challenging. That was really bad, really bad.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand. So anyway, that was the topic of conversation at dinner tonight. And for about a week, I've wanted to record. And I kept saying, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? Half the time we're fighting because I'm having a breakdown right now. And we're just trying to get things unpacked.
I'm exhausted by all this.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted by all this, period. This is all very new and different and good, but I'm ready for Mercury in retrograde to be over, and I'm ready for every box to be unpacked. So hopefully there was something in this show today between conflict resolution or maybe wanting to support anyone who loved their spouse when they got married and thought that they were going to last forever. Wanted to give you some hope that there is hope if you were in love, and give permission to those of you that know you shouldn't be together to get the hell out. You get one time around when you're in this body right now. And so why stay miserable? Go live your life. Don't have any regrets. Just choose happiness. And if it costs you a little bit of money, oh well, go make some more. Money is just energy. But the time that you spend with, your significant other or your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife and every day, I mean, it's just like break free of that. If you know deep, deep, deep down that it's not right, it never was, and it never was going to be. So figure out where you fall on that and take the appropriate action. And of course, as you know, we are doing a couples retreat. We're not going to talk about it right now because the show is getting a little bit long. You know where to go. It's jjflazanes.com/couples retreat. And we have a few spaces left. If there's only 5 couples that are going, it's in Palm Springs. It's over New Year's. We're going to be doing a lot of these tools, a lot of these different perspectives. We're going to just empower you to have the tools in your toolbox for when you have a trigger or a trauma or a conflict or a perspective that's not helping. And so you can do something about it.
And we've gotten a ton of people that have applied to get to come. So hopefully some of them will make the decision. Yes, I know JJ has given we've both looked and talked about each one of the applications that have come in, and I've approved, she's approved, and I know a bunch of emails have gone out. Hopefully if you're one of those that have already applied and you've been accepted, now is the time to pull the trigger. Hopefully you will do that, and let's go. And to those of you that haven't done anything, get going. Let's go. I want to hang out with you on New Year's Eve and do some fun stuff. A lot of food being cooked.
Yeah, food will be great. jjflazanes.com. You can go to the events page and scroll down to the couples retreat or digitflazanes.com/couples retreat. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.